welcome to Leaders of Tomorrow, the only show on Indian television where you, the MSME, get center stage. This is ET Now's special daily initiative to give MSMEs and entrepreneurs the opportunity to be front and center in every industry and area that matters to you. We do 20 roadshows across the country to meet with entrepreneurs across the length and breadth of India. We are bringing you the highlights of panel discussion that my colleague Pooja Jain did recently in Hyderabad. The topic of that was bridging the urban and rural divide. Take a look at what some of the biggest experts had to say.
Today we live in a complex era where methodology management is as much an art as a science. So we thought it'd be especially appropriate to kick off the evening with some opening remarks from our valued partner and the Executive Director of Leadership Management International. Please put your hands together for Ashok Dussel.
Today, a topic which is bridging the rural-urban divide, and we have excellent panelists and look forward to their sharings. In this rural-urban divide which we are talking of, what can be a greater purpose than reaching out and helping somebody? It creates a win-win for everybody if you lead with that kind of purpose. In your heart, the purpose should be paramount, and then other results follow. You can only be inspiring when you touch the other person's purposes, their wants, their needs, and get a win-win generated out of that. You have to change your mindset. If you suddenly change this, what can I do, into what can I do, and start thinking about it, suddenly you have moved from a problem-centric into a solution-centric environment. So I look forward to good deliberations from the panelists and good participation from the audience. Thank you.
So as I look across the stage, I can't help but notice we have representation from food tech, fintech, ed tech, med tech, and yet you've all made Hyderabad home.
Hyderabad would definitely be one of the top few choices for a person having an entrepreneurial mindset. It has the ecosystem, it has the, what shall I say, the building blocks that can help an entrepreneur set up or set up a startup and then take it to scale.
We got our jobs at Hyderabad into IBM, etc. after graduating. So Hyderabad is very welcoming. We are able to achieve our mission because of the very welcoming thoughts of various individuals and corporations.
One of the reasons we chose Hyderabad is because we feel the city is multidimensional. For me, when I started, what I thought was there's a big IT population, but there's also a big non-IT population. It is also we also felt it's a very good playground for us. We thought if we can make this work and big in Hyderabad, we can create a perfect template for the rest of the country.
Well, there's a very clear case for how MSMEs can, truly capitalize on this ecosystem. But what we also see is companies mushrooming that also care to have a social impact. They care to contribute. Where does that sentiment stem from in this city?
Well, so from a social impact perspective, given that you have, number one, you're an entrepreneur, then of course you're driven by purpose. If you have a purpose, have an entrepreneurial mindset, and then you want to be leveraging the ecosystem, that's when you find it very, what shall I say, very productive to be able to set up something and kind of take your purpose to, shape, give shape to your purpose and then take it to a logical conclusion.
Well, Pranay, building on that, that's often an uphill battle. And I'd simply like to bring in what you do in this case, in that you set up virtual clinics by, coupling information communication technology with medical expertise to provide healthcare to the urban poor, right? For them, healthcare is not always accessible, it's not always affordable. So of all the choices you could have made with your career, that's the direction you chose to go in, and you've had a long and interesting journey. So what brought you here?
Right, so I've had an interesting journey. I've been an Air Force officer for a little more than 2 decades. I was a business manager in the emerging markets with a Fortune 100 company. But having taken so much across those 3 decades, I thought it was time to give back. And I always find that the government kind of adopts somebody who's taken a lead in a particular field. So I just thought I'd put my money where my mouth is and get on with my job.
Well, Mayur, we've heard about the government's role. We've touched on it briefly. And while it's not solely their responsibility, they are very much an enabler with respect to bridging the urban-rural divide. What sort of government legislation would you like to see that can help accelerate this process? What's missing now, and what is the direction we need to head in?
Okay. So the problem that we are trying to solve is at a huge scale. Nirmaan as an organization, we have started at Bitspilani, Rajasthan. We started with 10 volunteers with the inspiration of Abdul Kalam and Swami Vivekananda, mainly focusing on urban-rural divide. We have started in 2005. So we started teaching kids from government schools, 25 plus kids in our campus at Rajasthan. And we started teaching and we have expanded it, we have scaled it. Even the corporations came and told, okay, you are saving 1% of your income for the society, all the 500 plus volunteers. So we'll also adopt one school each. So like Wells Fargo adopted Kottaguda School, Synchrony Financial adopted Yusufguda School. And similarly many organizations from 2005, 2007 to now, all the 10 years. The collectors, the district collectors and the education department are definitely supportive. So the complex problem that we have now is that, for example, we are working with 500 government schools across India, and 50 schools we have adopted at depth and we have adopted completely.
So, one interesting demographic statistic I want to mention is that Hyderabad's urban poor is surprisingly literate. In fact, the slums in Hyderabad enjoy a literacy rate of upwards of 70%. What do you make of that as you shape your future business models? And Mukesh, I'd love to start with you there.
I run a startup called Tinman, which lets people order homemade food from other people whom we call home chefs. So here we primarily work with two people. One is the home chefs. Most of them are women, like over 95%, and all of them are earning money for the first time. They come from a middle class background, most of these guys, and we also work with delivery guys. Okay, and the delivery guys mostly come from the slums and the lower middle class or lower class backgrounds, right? So one thing we never have the problem is technology, right? So that way, so we don't have, so for chefs we have training programs. So that is for the food, etc. and all. But for technology per se, I don't think, I mean, at least at our level, you don't need.
It's a learn and earn model there,
yeah.
Right? And then, Pranay, you've of course taken the approach of, constructing these virtual clinics such that network infrastructure or connectivity is not even a factor. So even the most rural of neighborhoods have access to quality health care. So why that approach? And how has it served you?
While the government is doing stuff of day to day, they're also kind of enabling a whole new infrastructure, which would allow an entrepreneur to build, say, the way healthcare is delivered tomorrow. And based on this very infrastructure, as opposed to a brick and mortar clinic where a doctor sits and the patient has to go all the way down to meet with the doctor to have a meaningful consultation. The whole idea is to kind of use this particular infrastructure where the government has made it possible for a minimum 3G connectivity as far as the rural areas is concerned and the semi-urban areas are concerned as well. So it's kind of what I say would be very effective and efficient to bring about this whole in-clinic experience to the doorstep of the villagers or the urban poor, as you may call it.
Oh, absolutely fascinating. And you've all sort of achieved that proof of concept. Your business models are working. But then the next step, of course, becomes achieving scale. Economies of scale, growing the business, getting out of bootstrap mode. And what sort of backdrop does Hyderabad make for as you look to evolve and get to the next stage of maturity for your business?
So it's like when we are working with our organization has grown organically. So initially it's like 10 of us, saving 1 rupee per day for the nation, 30 rupees a month. And now we appeal to the people across the campus, including Vice Chancellor Bits Pilani, contributes 30 rupees. So 6,000 rupees a month. So 200 people. So now when we look back, when we are teaching then in one village in Rajasthan, teaching 25 kids and the rickshawalas, and now in 12 years we are able to scale up to a 2.75 lakh people, children, women and youth, we are able to impact. The solutions have come up organically. So we all in 2005 when we started, 2007 we graduated, we came to various places. We started a campaign of save 1% of your income, and many people started contributing. And I was working with IBM before I quit there full time. So when IBM came forward and said, okay, no 40 people from various corporates coming and contributing to this school. So instead of giving to another NGO, we will route our funds through this corporate social responsibility. We adopt that school. So when we saw the trend, we thought that, okay, now what we will do is we'll build our model, financial model in such a way that 10 to 20% we will fund from our volunteering, and another 80 to 90% CSR will fund. So that's how we gave each school to one corporate, and each skill development center to one corporate. So that's how it has scaled up. Now we have to be enabler. So when we feel is that if you have to scale up, you have to realize that your strength is not enough. So now we are coming up with a concept called give back. Hashtag give back to your Janma Bhoomi and to your Karma Bhoomi. One school at a time, one village at a time. Let's build developed India. So what we have done is we have come up with a form called Give Back Champions. We have asked IAS officers, NRIs, Vice Chancellors to sign up. So various IAS officers, Vice Chancellors, and then NRIs have signed up and told, okay, I want to give back to my Karma Bhoomi, this particular school, and in this particular district, this particular school.
Time for a break. On the other side, we'll continue bringing the highlights from a panel discussion that we did in Hyderabad earlier. Just stay tuned. Welcome back with us here on Leaders of Tomorrow, and tonight we're bringing you the highlights of a grand event and a panel discussion that my colleague Pooja Jain did in Hyderabad on the theme of bridging the urban and rural divide for small businesses. Do take a look.
Where do you draw the line as to when a relationship is complementary versus competitive? Like, for example, in your industry, if you were to look at the Zomatos of the world or the Food Pandas of the world, the Swiggies of the world, do you view them as competition, or are they an enabler for you at Tinman?
I have to divulge, Zomato has recently invested in Tinman. So that like completely...
well, we got an answer to that question then.
Having said that, see, all large companies have their focus areas, right? Even if you see like companies like Google and Microsoft, while they keep indulging themselves in all the other areas, they are still good at their focus areas, right? So if you look at Zomato, Swiggy, they're super good at delivering from restaurants. That is their core focus. Zomato has been in like 20 countries, right? They went international. But what we do is different from them. Yes, if you start a business competing directly against them in this stage, it's very risky. You might not succeed. But what we do is a completely complementary market. We are creating home chefs, which is non-existent right now, right? And we serve the population who want economic food. Our meals are priced at $100. So these are the complementary things. So as he said, the larger companies look at opportunities. So they look at opportunities, they look at complementary markets, and they want to run them. Because you see, if you look at all large companies under 20-year history, no company is very few companies are doing what they were doing 20 years back or 30 years back. Only the companies that evolve will survive. So given that, the fastest way to evolve is startups and small businesses that can scale. So this is the best way to survive, and I think now they are looking at those opportunities. Yeah.
And Ashok sir made an incredible point earlier about mind shift change and how critical it is and how challenging it is. So in the enterprises that you pursue, and Mayur, have you ever faced a challenge in sort of getting everyone to, sort of sing the same song or read off the same sheet of paper. How do you establish that common denominator that we essentially call a corporate culture?
What we have done is initially when we were working with this working with a multinational company or with a startup, it is same for us because both of them bring their own strengths. So initially it was difficult to convince a corporate to our model, but gradually what we have developed is, for example, with Synchrony Financial. It's a corporate. It does impact investment. So what we have gone to them and told that we let us build these 4 schools plus, and they also have come up with their own idea. So we have started being incubator. Like we have taken Chanchalguda prison, and there for the women, the women prisoners, once they go out of the prison, so especially the poor people, when they get into the villages, it's like they are not accepted. So they come back by doing same crimes. So what we have done a complex project with them, and we are pretty successful is, so we have started a skill development project within the prison itself. That's an idea of Synchrony Financial, wherein we are targeting at enabling these women to, after they come out, after with the skill, if we are able to track them to make their livelihood better, it's happening so well.
So it's a structured rehabilitation of sorts.
Correct. Similarly, what we have also started with Tech Mahindra Foundation is they are into skill development. So we, in the larger picture of education and skill development, we have taken a urban slum like Borbanda, which consists of 70 plus slums individually, and we have started the skill development centers there. And over the last 3 years, we are able to impact around 1,000 people each of the slum, and out of which 80 plus are placed in nearby industry. That was a great challenge, wherein Borbanda is a slum, and here you are seeing a high-tech city. If you see Borbanda as such, it's like Dharavi in Mumbai, right? So, and you have this high-tech city. So how can you actually empower these youth, the girls like Navya, who is a single parent, Tyler daughter, who is doing very well? Can you connect to the opportunity at high-tech city? So when we started the journey, it has been successful. So similarly, we have come up with one more concept called digital labs. So this digital labs is a signature campaign of one of our partners. It's like in the schools, in the government schools. In government schools, people are not sending to the government schools, especially because of English and computers. So we have started the digital labs, and with full-fledged, we have used the recent technology, internet connectivity. And what we have started is through Skype and through various other means, we are engaging the employees of various corporates to the rural areas as well. So when we are able to actually innovate for the donors as well, the corporate donors and various donors as well, so then gradually they start singing your own song, or you together tune a new song, right? So for the developed India. So that's how we are trying to address this challenge.
As you take a look at how far along you've come and how far along you perhaps have yet to go,
Yeah.
what goes through your mind? What would you like to accomplish, and where do you see your personal contribution in bridging the urban-rural divide?
Well, so the task and the challenge ahead of us is huge. We're looking at an addressable market of 45% of rural India, which travels between 7 to 30 kilometers to access a qualified doctor. We made humble beginnings. We've done a pilot for the Chief Minister of Maharashtra's Village Social Transformation Mission. We've kind of showcased the entire solution across 100 villages through eight sub-centers, sort of serving about 50,000 people. But what lies ahead is to be able to replicate this, get it to 29 states and 10 union territories, address 374 million people, and then try to bring the governments to follow this particular model, so that we can get primary healthcare to that person who is really far away in the villages and has to forgo a day's wage. So that's really a long task.
For us, it's like around a few years back, we have done an experiment with 500 plus kids who are coming out from government schools in an entire district of Rangareddy. So when we picked up this 500 children, the IAS officer was there, and he was actually funding for free without any caste reservation for the entire 2 years of corporate education in a good college +2. So now what the team has felt is that, you know, they are able to fund it, but there is no mentoring organization. They invited, so we are there as a mentoring organization. So we understood. So we have studied first 1 year. So what we have understood is these 500 kids who are making 90+ % marks in their own government schools are not able to be the success stories in their things. And what we have understood is it is just that it is not that they lack hard work, it is not that they lack talent, but it is only the exposure to the English and the computers and various role models. So what we have done is with these 500 kids, we have started a 10-day residential camp for them while they enter into their +1. And we have, introduced people like Sai Prasad Vishwanathan, who is a disabled person but is able to get into Antarctica and ISB. We have brought in and we have made them tell that, these people without any English medium, studying in English medium with minimal resources are able to be heroes in their lives, right? So what is being a hero? Standing up on your own feet and then, serving your parents and also serving your country. So how they're able to do it, we have shown it. And we have been the mentors for these 500 kids. So this case study of these 500 kids produced very, very brilliant people like Raghavendra Gaud, who is from a village. He's able to get into IIT Jodhpur. He was the Students' Union president over there. He came back with a placement and then he was again preparing for the civil services. People from villages, children from government schools can dream big. We all have to together, make their dreams come true. So we are very hopeful that this will become a national movement, and any major national problem will be able to solve not just an organization or a government, but as a people movement. So that's what we are looking at, solving one problem at a time. Inviting you all to be the give back champions for your respective Janma Bhumi and Karma Bhumi.
If you're asking how far along we are in our mission, I would say 1% done. So, because see, right now we have close to 100 chefs on our platform, and that's about like 200 sustainable jobs that were created. But our target, the target the team has is like, we think we can get up to like 1 lakh people who become home chefs on this platform, right? So right now we're still super small. We're still in a single city, but starting next year we'll be going to other cities, and all we are doing right now is figuring out how to do that, as quickly as possible and in a super scalable way. So yeah, we are 1% done.
Well, a huge round of applause for all of our panelists, please.
Completely out of time on this episode of Leaders of Tomorrow. If you have any questions for us or you want to know what city we're heading to next, you can always write in at leadersoftomorrow@timesgroup.com. On social media, tweet at me at Sunanda_J or LoT_ET now. You can also call us on that number you see on your screen or reach us on our Facebook page, Leaders of Tomorrow on ET Now. Thanks very much for watching. Have a good night.